So today, the Battlefront 2 community received another community transmission, and while I'm not a Battlefront YouTuber, I'm an all things Star Wars YouTuber, so I want to cover all the video games, movies, TV shows, etc, so I do want to cover this as well. So Ben starts off the transmission by talking about the state of the Galactic Assault maps, and how each map in the final phase basically funnels all the players into one spot so it can have this chaotic battle. He then says that with Geonosis they're going for something different, and they're going to try and make it more open. He mentions that they experimented with that on the final part of Kessel for extraction, but with Geonosis they're going to take it a step further. The final two phases are apparently going to be very open, and it's going to be very ideal for vehicle-based combat, and it gives its own identity and gameplay experience that is different from what is currently available within Galactic Assault. For me personally, this is a really good thing because I definitely did not like how funneled in and how forced you were to go into one spot at the end of Galactic Assault, simply because when you're playing a video game, and such a big open 20v20 video game such as Battlefront 2, you want to be able to make your own choices, and while it didn't restrict all your creativity, it did restrict you quite a bit, especially when you were only choosing between two paths. So I'm really excited to see what they do with Geonosis, and I'm glad they're listening to the community. He goes on to say that the centerpiece of Geonosis is the AT-TE. This six-legged armoured walker is fully controllable and plays a vital role on the battlefront. One of the key differences between the AT-TE and any other vehicle in the game is that they are dynamically dropped in real time into the playable space as the battle goes on. So basically the AT-TE is going to be like the old Battlefront 2 vehicles, like from the classic Battlefront 2, where you can actually it just drops on the map and you can just jump straight in. You don't actually have to buy it with battle points or anything, it will just drop randomly on the map and you can go up to it and get inside. I really like this because personally I'm not a big fan of just deploying your ships. It's a lot better than it was in the first Battlefront EA game, where you picked up random tokens, but I still prefer the original Battlefront 2 system, so this is definitely a good change for me. Ben then goes on to describe the different phases of Galactic Assault, so let's get into them. The first phase is called Phase 1, Reactivate a Damaged AT-TE. The first phase is very much focused on infantry combat, with the clones needing to call in reinforcements and reactivate a damaged AT-TE. During this phase, the objective of the droids is to stop them. This phase will take place in typical Geonosian canyons with plenty of pathways and cover available. So this sounds like a pretty good phase in my opinion. I don't see any problems with it, and it sounds pretty basic, but still good. The first phase always kind of feels like a throwaway phase though, because most of the time no one ever wins on the first phase apart from the guys that are attacking, if that makes sense. Like the people that are defending and trying to stop the people who are attacking, they never win in phase 1. I've never seen them win. The next one is called Phase 2, Hard Cell Troop Transport. The second phase marks the shift from infantry to vehicle combat. With vehicles now coming into play, the tight canyons will give way to a vast battlefront, meaning a change in tactics and gameplay will be required. The objective during this phase is to bring down or defend, depending on your team, 2 hard cell troop transports. Mechanically and gameplay wise, the objective is a mixture of the destroy objective, as seen on Crate with the generators, and walkers. The hard cell troop transports are static objects that the clones need to destroy before they run out of tickets. However, they need to be weakened before serious damage can be dealt to them, similarly to walkers. This can be achieved by using the special ability of the AT-TEs. This ties into the overarching theme of Geonosis of the AT-TEs being the cornerstone of the battle. Once again, this sounds really good. This is when the fun's really going to kick in for me personally, because it's going to be more open as they mentioned, and it's going to be a lot more free for a player to do what they want. Obviously while playing the objective, but just having a bit more freedom. Instead of choosing different tunnels, you get to choose different paths across a massive landscape. It's going to be great. The third and final phase is Phase 3, Secure the Turbo Lasers. The third phase is an all-out attack by the clones. Their goal is to recapture some abandoned turbo lasers to take down the droid core ship. During this phase, the droids must do everything they can to defend the turbo lasers or loss will be imminent. Gameplay wise, this is a capture point but with a twist. As noted earlier, we didn't want to create a narrow funnel towards the end of this battle, so this capture point is actually around 200 meters wide. You may be inclined to think that this could turn into an infinitely contested objective. To prevent this from occurring, the capture point can only be captured by the AT-TEs. In addition to this, the capture can't be contested. This creates a scenario where the clones know that they need to escort their AT-TEs into the area so they can capture it. At the same time, the droids can see these slow-moving giants approach from a distance and plan accordingly. The intent here is to create the feeling of a battle where the game is not won or lost by a single person sneaking in and taking an objective. Rather, it's an entire army moving forward and playing the objective together. This is definitely very different from what we've ever seen before, and I'm very interested to see how it plays out, and I hope it goes really well because it definitely sounds really cool, and I like the idea of this big army marching over Geonosis to try and capture one point together. Ben then goes on to say, with the difference in objectives coming into play, we had to change up the way reinforcements work. Usually one reinforcement equals one trooper, however for the second and third phases, one reinforcement will equal one AT-TE. This means that dying as a clone trooper during these phases won't drain your team's tickets. A transition from trooper reinforcements to AT-TE reinforcements happens between phase 1 and 2. To give all droids a chance to help, we use missile launchers, as seen in all other Walker phases, in a slightly different way. There will be more of these available, the range much longer than normal, and the lock-on time very short. In addition to this, droids won't be marked while holding the launcher by the other team. However, they won't make the AT-TE weakened, instead they just deal damage. I really like this idea, and I'm very interested to see how it plays out, to be honest. He then goes on to talk about some unimportant stuff, such as what's going on in the background. They're creating this living world, where basically you can see the battle going on at the side, as we've had with all the other Galactic Assault maps. This next part sounds really interesting to me though. He goes on to say, fighting through a dense sandstorm is one of the most iconic scenes from Geonosis, and something we really wanted to recreate. The sandstorm will occur during the transition from phase 2 to 3, when the final hard cell troop transport has been destroyed. While fighting through the transport, visibility is heavily reduced and, even though you are fighting in a completely open area, you feel like it's close range gameplay. Running through the storm with blaster bolts flying everywhere is a great experience, and definitely something which adds to the unique gameplay experience that Geonosis will offer. This is something that I'm actually incredibly excited about because while most of the Galactic Assault maps add something different, they don't add something completely different like this, which is just game changing. We've never really seen any dynamic weather elements apart from obviously the rain on Camino and stuff like that, but that doesn't really affect the gameplay. This will basically make you blind. It's like when the sandstorms roll in on that Battlefield 1 map. I'm really interested to see how this will play out, and it's definitely going to be very exciting to see what happens. He then goes on to show off the OG-9 homing spider droid, which is very exciting. He goes on to say, as the clones fight their way towards the turbo lasers, they will have to clear out quite a few homing spider droids. These droids will deal significant damage to both AT-TEs and troopers if not taken care of. Their presence means that the AT-TEs can't just blindly keep walking forward towards the next objective. So it's basically a counter to the AT-TEs for the droids, and I think that's very good. I'm glad they're already planning counters and stuff, and I'm definitely interested to see how these guys will play. It actually doesn't mention here whether or not you can actually play with them, so I'm starting to think you might not be able to, but still, seeing them on the battle will also be really cool. He then goes on to talk about the design process, and while I'm not going to talk through that in this video, I definitely recommend that you go and check it out down in the link in the description below, because this community transmission is actually really interesting, and learning about the design process behind maps is definitely very interesting. So yeah, I'll leave the link for it down in the description below, and you should definitely go and check it out. And he finally ends the transmission by saying, but one last thing. Before we sign off, we thought we'd give you a behind the scenes glimpse of some work in progress shots of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And man, does he look magnificent. Obviously his lightsaber is green right now, and they mentioned that his lightsaber is going to be blue, and this is a really early version of Obi-Wan Kenobi's idle animation, but still, it still looks magnificent. They also dropped an early work in progress look at Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi robes, which is also very awesome. I always like seeing the concept art and how things are kind of formed over time. But man, I really can't wait for the 28th now. I don't know what I'm going to do while I wait, but I'm definitely very excited, and, you know, DICE have got me in on this. There was a time where I found that Battlefront 2 was stale, but they definitely seem to be resuming the content and making sure that it's going forward in full force. I'm really excited for the future of this game, and I'm definitely very excited for Geonosis, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and what comes beyond. If you guys enjoyed the video, definitely make sure to support me and let me know that you want to see more of these types of videos, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.